Here now is Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy, member of the Senate Budget and Senate Judiciary Committees. Senator Kennedy, what do you think about Senator Daines now? He's suggesting, as Ron Johnson did, that the small businesses aren't getting enough of a break. Do you think he can be brought into the fold?
Yes, and let me tell you what's going on. This is a solid bill. Could it be improved? Sure. And that's what we're in the process of doing. And we'll do right up until it's time to start voting. How can we make the bill better? But at some point this week, I hope, we should have done it last week, but at some point this week, the music stops and we've got to vote. And what I say to my colleagues is I think they're all in good faith. They're trying to make the bill better.
Right.
But once we finish this process this week, if somebody votes against this bill, just because it doesn't have everything that they want from the toy store, then they ought to be ashamed of themselves. They ought to hide their heads in a bag. Now, I believe, let me be clear here. I think all my colleagues are in good faith. I'm making suggestions myself.
Right.
But at some point, we need to vote this week. And we've got everything we need. It's now we're going to find out if we have what it takes.
Well, Senator, there are ways to tweak bills, and then there are some things that are just intractable. Some people who have an intractable opposition to it for some reason. I would think that the Ron Johnsons and the Senator Daines have issues that can be tweaked. But then you look at Susan Collins, and she seems to have more serious difficulties. Do you think you'll bring her on board?
I hope so. I'm not going to tell Susan how to vote. I want her to follow her heart. I also say very respectfully, I want her to take her brain with you. Now, this economy, no reasonable person can be proud of this economy. We tried everything President Obama wanted to try. We did stimulus spending. We lowered interest rates. We did quantitative easing out the wazoo. We did everything that other than what we should have done, and that's tried to cut people's taxes, and especially for the middle class. You know, the last time that the federal government did anything for the middle class in America, it was like never. This bill is going to help them. It's going to help every business. And I think it'll add half a point, maybe a point to GDP.
Well, Senator, very
it's
quickly,
a solid bill.
Before we go, we only have about 20 seconds, but the opposition that Senator Collins and is also Jerry Moran has with the bill is that they don't want the Obamacare mandate to become part of this, or removing the Obamacare mandate on individuals. Do you think that stays when the vote comes to the full Senate?
Well, I hope so. I think it's a good idea. And I don't think we ought to be fining people, punishing people for not buying insurance they can't afford. And they're mostly poor people.
But if it comes down to that, if Susan Collins says the only way you're going to have my vote is if you get rid of this, would you be okay with that?
Yes, if we get there. But I think Susan's whip smart, very bright, and I think she'll eventually see the wisdom of leaving it in.
John Kennedy, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're very frank and to the point. We really appreciate having you on. Please come back and see us again.
Thanks, guys.